Welcome back, everybody. It is January 17th, 2018. I'm sure many, if not all of you, have been hearing the word INGA for the last 3 days now. The Northeast is basically getting the brunt of this storm as we speak. I'm going to hit play here just to give you an idea of where this storm's movement came from, why it did what it did, and what's coming next. Now, you can see in this chart you can almost make out this U here. This thing stops and freezes a few times. I'm sorry about that, it's out of my control. But you can make out this U. This is our jet stream dip here. And now this is the moisture from INGA that has been moving up the East Coast, bringing ice and snow to places that are very not used to it. They don't have the equipment to handle it. It's been quite an issue for a lot of places. A lot of you that have been following my channel and watch the Weather Channel, they have crews all over the East Coast covering areas where there's been snow they haven't seen in 20 plus years, just like Winter Storm Grayson did recently. Now, the reason I'm showing you this chart is for a few reasons. One is because it's got a good shot at the dip in our jet stream that I always talk about, guys. The jet stream is probably the most important thing that affects our weather in the U.S. Now, when we dip down low like this, especially in the winter months, what that allows is the cold air from Canada to flow into the U.S. That is why we've been getting these icy, cold, very deep freeze conditions in states that aren't so much used to it. There were states of emergencies in areas of Texas. There was snow in Texas, and that is due to not only the jet stream dipping down below Texas, almost into the Gulf, but also having moisture in that area at the same time. So the jet stream, once again, is a big factor, if not the main factor, in why we get our storms, where they go. And also, back to hurricane season, all we did was talk about how the jet stream was basically the steering wheel for these storms. Now, if the jet stream dipped down low, that would create a front here that could possibly push a hurricane out into this direction, so on and so forth. So almost picture the jet stream as like a wall of force. If it's dipping down, it's allowing air from Canada to come down into the U.S. If it's a high dip, that's where you get your warmer temperatures. Now, as you watch this, the moisture, most of the moisture has already passed the most of the southern states. There is still state of emergency in North Georgia. I think there's a few areas in the Carolinas that may still be under state of emergency, but even right now, areas from Charlotte all the way through Richmond could still expect 3 to 5 inches of snow. That's right around this area. Towards the end of this loop, you can see how it, as it's pulling up to the northeast, the bulk of that moisture is still over the Carolinas, so they're still at risk, especially with this cold air. You see these purples here, that's like a deep freeze, and that, again, that's because of that deep U we have in the jet stream. All that air from Canada is coming down, but for the most part, the Northeast right now is getting the brunt of this storm, and this is currently where I am. And I have a few cool things to show you guys, actually. I posted some pictures from where my parents live, and the Weather Channel actually picked them up and used them on the AMHQ morning show. I'll show you that in a minute. I just wanted to run through this a few times. Now, once again, this is the remnants of INGA right now that's passing over the Northeast. The area I'm in now in Pennsylvania, we got probably over 8 inches of snow. I've been shoveling for the last 2 days. My brother actually brought a quad finally with a plow on it, so we didn't have to shovel the driveway for my parents, which was just wonderful. The snow isn't... At first, it was very hard, or very dusty snow, very easy to move. You could almost push it away with a broom. But now the temperatures in this area are rising a little bit. And what that's doing is that's causing the snow to be much heavier. It's harder to push. I'm sure a lot of you in the Northeast are starting to deal with that. But the bigger issues for the southern states wasn't so much the snow, it was more so the ice. And if, again, those of you that have been watching the Weather Channel and your local weather in these states down here, I'm sure you've been seeing all those jackknife tractor-trailer trucks, that car that smashed right into a police cruiser on the dash cam. They've been playing that one a lot. So just a lot of road issues, just a lot of stuff that people are not used to in these southern states. And that's because of many things. They don't have the equipment. They're not always prepared for weather like this. I'm sure this winter will change that. We've been having some crazy weather, guys. Winter Storm Grayson was one of the crazier storms we've seen in a long time. Again, it brought snow to areas of Florida they haven't seen in 28 years. This storm also has done things that we have not seen in years. So, you know, this is just one of those seasons where it just seems like it's mimicking hurricane season. It's just storm after storm after storm. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get into this that much in this video, but if you look to the west coast here, guys, there's a big system that is actually rolling in from the Pacific Ocean, and it's off frame here, but there's another low system to the southwest of this system that's rolling in. What that's doing is that's pushing this system down across the Rockies. Now, this part of the storm here is just now entering these western states. And what this is going to do is it's going to pass over the Rockies, and then according to the data, that other system that's pushing it basically up and to the right in this area is going to give it a little bit of a force, and it's projected to move over the Great Lakes. And unfortunately, as it's doing that, we're expecting yet another dip in the jet stream, which could cause yet another major snowstorm, and this would be Winter Storm Jaxon if it does stay this way. So, but for now, we're going to stick to Nina, or Inga rather, I'm sorry, and I want to show you a few pictures I took from outside my parents' house in northeast Pennsylvania. We'll do that now, actually. Let me stop this. But once again, just to recap, the reason I'm showing you this is because we have a really cool jet stream definition line here, so to give you a real good idea of how the jet stream works, how this moisture is being pulled right up the east coast. It is moving quickly, and that's why those gusty winds were happening. That's why there was those whiteout conditions. You can see a little bit of a moisture system coming down from Canada, and the reason this is allowed to move south once again is because of this dip. When you have this dip here, that leaves this whole area open for all the air in Canada to move down. And again, if that U was the reverse and going up, that means the warm air from the tropics would be allowed to come up. So right now, all these deep freeze areas are what's causing all the issues. So any moisture in this area is going to be ice, some snow areas, and that's why we've been having so many problems. But again, Inga is finally making its departure over the northeast. Still areas of New England are going to get hit pretty hard. Like I said, areas of northeast Pennsylvania got hit very hard, especially the area I'm in. I'm going to show you some of those pictures now, so let me open that up. Alright, so this picture I took out my window today. This was this morning. This was a similar picture to what they used on the AMHQ channel, on the Weather Channel, or the AMHQ show, I'm so sorry, on the Weather Channel. And this was the same angle. So you can see I got a decent amount of snow. It's still snowing right now. I will take updated pictures for when I talk about this other storm, Winter Storm Jaxon, that is going to be moving its way across the Rockies and then up into the Great Lakes. More than not, it's going to be a northeast storm, but it looks like it may be pulling some moisture from the tropics, just like Grayson did. Again, we'll get into that into another video, but I took this snapshot here from the Weather Channel. You can see here, they labeled it Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This is actually Luzerne County. That's my Twitter handle right there. And this is that AMHQ show that is on the Weather Channel when they were covering Winter Storm Inga. So I thought that was pretty cool. I got some Twitter attention on that. It was fun. But these roads were just horrible, guys. It looks like the roads are clear here, but this was all black ice, and that was the main issue. We had a light dusting of snow that froze very quickly, and then it snowed on top of it. So even though these roads look like they may be semi-clear, this is all ice. I tried walking across this to get to this parking lot over here because we had to park our cars in this area to get our driveway plowed out, and you could barely make it across this area. So, but here you go. This was what they played on the Weather Channel. I thought that was pretty cool. I took some pictures of snowbirds. I tried getting some snowflakes in front of them, messing with my camera. I will be doing that more. I'm going to be taking more outside pictures and stuff like that for you guys. I would love for you guys to submit pictures. I am getting some on Instagram, which is really cool. I appreciate that. For all of you that have been following my Instagram page, that is at Into Thin Air News. And then Twitter is at Into Thin Air, same as the YouTube handle. I have a quick video to show you of this morning. I'll play it from here. This was, again, outside my window. This was literally about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Snow is still falling, huge flakes going on. And so there are, and this is a higher elevation area. This is about 900 feet above sea level where I am right now visiting. So you can see for yourself, guys, this storm was no joke. And this is northeast Pennsylvania. This isn't even the Boston area or anything like that that's about to get this stuff. So when I woke up this morning, I was not expecting to see this. Again, these roads are covered in ice and snow. Plows were out all night long. Like, it just did not stop. It was doing this all night. In fact, these power lines, you can see there's probably an inch or two of snow on them. Some of these along this side here have a little bit more, but when I woke up this morning, there wasn't much wind. It literally looked like there was a 6-inch high mound of snow on top of the power lines, and that just means the snow is getting very thick, it's getting very heavy, and that's when it becomes a real pain to move out of the way. All right, so let's look at tropical, well, no, let's check this first. This site here, I'm going to link in the description box. I've shown you this before. This is very useful for those of you for individual counties. You can go to this website, weather.gov, and you can click on any one of these little counties. For example, I'll click on this one, and what it does is it brings up information for that specific area. It'll give you your radar satellite. It'll give you all sorts of different information. So I think it's a very useful site for those of you that want information on your individual county as opposed to what's going on as a whole. Again, there's a lot of warnings going on. If you scroll down here, you can match the colors. Hard freeze warnings are all over this area, and again, that is because of this deep U we have in the jet stream. So I'm just trying to show you guys that we can use different charts to show why we see what we see, why the jet stream is so important. And you can see right here, these deep freeze colors are the exact reason why states that are not used to this type of stuff are having such a hard time dealing with it. Now, really quick, we'll go over to Tropical Tidbits before I get you out of here. I am set up for January 17th. Now, what's interesting about INGA is that it barely showed up as a storm on this chart. So as I hit play here, this is the 17th. You don't really see much moisture in this area, even though it was a storm. Now again, the moisture will go out into the Atlantic Ocean, and then it's a little warmer out there, so you see it pick up. But what I'm worried about is this right here. This is January 23rd, and this is what might be the possibility of Winter Storm Jaxon. Now this, again, is that system I showed you on this page here, which is beginning to enter the northwest states here, and then there's another low pressure system out in the Pacific Ocean that is pushing this into the U.S. That's gonna pass across the Rockies and then eventually get forced up over the Great Lakes. Now, with that said, let me see if I can get this page back up. There we go. And with that said, this is the system here. It's going to move down this way across the Rockies, and then it's going to get forced up by that low pressure in the southern Pacific near the Baja region of Mexico. So it's eventually going to make its way across the Rockies. The Rockies may break it up a little bit, but they're expecting it to reform. So what's going to happen is that low system down here is then going to force it up towards the Great Lakes. And unfortunately, according to sites like Tropical Tidbits, this is forward in time to January 22nd. You can see how that system, they have a blockage here on this site. For some reason, the radars don't read this part of the country, but that system, picture it moving across the northwest. It gets pushed from underneath by that other low system, and then by Friday the 19th, this is the 20th, here is the 21st, and here's the end of the 21st, where you can see that system makes it this far low, but then you see it make a northeast approach. Right there is where the issues are going to begin. Now again, we're going to have a dip in the jet stream during this time. There's going to be a slight warm-up in the northeast over the next couple days, which will allow some of this snow to melt. But right after that, the temperatures are going to drop again, and they just so happen to be dropping as this system is moving across the Great Lakes. So this could be yet another lake effect snow situation. Just like Hunter was, Grayson was a mixture of a big nor'easter plus a lake effect snow deal. And the thing about Grayson was that it was pulling moisture up from the tropics. And now with this future storm, which may be named Winter Storm Jaxon, this has the possibility of doing the same thing. So once it gets to about this area, there is moisture building up in the tropics. So you may see that similar shape. We had a shape that almost looked like the number 9. So there was a strip of moisture moving up the east coast from the Bahamas to the east of Florida, moving up the Bahamas, and Grayson was actually pulling that moisture up and whipping it in a counterclockwise motion, mixing with the cold air from Canada, and that's what dumped all that snow all over the Northeast, and then just hammered areas in Buffalo and Watertown and stuff like that. Sorry about that, didn't mean to click that. But that's where we're at right now, guys. Like I said, INGA is making its final departure. You can barely see it even shown on these moisture maps, which is very interesting because, as I showed you, we got a lot of snow from INGA. This is the 18th. I'm just going to hit play here, let it run through for you. This is the 19th. The 20th, we may get some weather, but it's a little bit warmer, so that's going to be a rain situation. But then here we go. January 23rd through the 25th, maybe a day or so early, a day or so late, we may be dealing with yet another major winter storm that not only will be a Great Lake effect deal, but will also be pulling moisture up from the tropics, just like Grayson. So we may see a very similar storm to Winter Storm Grayson that we just finished getting cleared out from just in time for Winter Storm Hunter, and now we're dealing with INGA. So that's where we're at right now, guys. Sorry it took me so long to get these videos out. I've been doing some traveling, I've been taking pictures, and I'm going to start incorporating those into these videos because I want to show you guys different areas of the Northeast and how these systems, just within 10 miles of a difference, you can see a difference in 1 or 2 feet of snow. And that's what's crazy about lake effect snow, guys. It picks and chooses where it wants to dump all the snow, but it's always to the east of the lake. So you get that wind that moves over the Great Lakes, which are so big, the bodies of water are so huge that they actually affect the weather in the atmosphere. So you get those eastern areas on the lakes like Buffalo and Erie, Pennsylvania even. And then Watertown is a common name that you hear when you're dealing with lake effect snow. And that's just how it works in the winter. And we've been just getting these insane dips in the jet stream that are allowing this cold air to move down into states that are just not prepared for stuff like this. So hopefully after these last couple storms, these states will at least attempt to bring in some equipment for the future, or at least for the rest of the winter, because as of right now, guys, it just looks like it's going to be storm after storm after storm. There's even something forming way out in the Pacific, way too early to tell what it'll do to the U.S., that may be coming right after Winter Storm Jaxon. But if this stays as is, guys, this will be Winter Storm Jaxon. So the Northeast, you will get a few days of relief. You will have time to let some of this snow melt, but just in time for yet another system. Now, again, this is all temperature based. It depends on 32 degrees and below will be snow issues. Anything above that will be a slushy mix. But by the looks of the data, guys, and what I'm used to seeing with the jet stream, it looks like this dip is going to happen at the same time that this system is passing over. And the thing about this is that it may look like just a northeast issue, but the main thing here is that the moisture will be pulled from the tropics. So there will be a strip of moisture here. So depending on how low that jet stream dip comes, will determine if areas of the Carolinas and even Florida once again may see wintry weather. I don't know why that keeps happening. Sorry about that. But that's where we're at right now, guys. I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm actually working on another video as we speak to get into more detail about the future storm, Winter Storm Jaxon. And that's it for now. Any questions or comments, please leave below. I'll be working on that video today. I should have it out later on this afternoon, if not first thing tomorrow morning. And then we will follow this system as it passes over the Rockies and makes its way towards the northeast, which it looks like it's going to do. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. We'll talk very soon. Have a great day. Watch your backs. Don't overdo it out there. I think I did. I'm very sore from shoveling. So take breaks. You know, get fluids in you. Eat. Do what you got to do. But stay safe. And if your area is telling you to stay off the roads, please do it, unless you absolutely have to, because there's a lot of black ice out there. And there's a lot of accidents going on, and that's one of the biggest issues with some of these southern states. Not so much the snow, it's the ice and just people not being used to this type of weather. All right, guys, thank you all very much. We'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.